Welcome to the High Times Presents Free Weed from DANKO podcast, which for me, of course, is the High Times podcast with Josh Kesselman. Today, I have some very special guests, and I'm so happy they joined us because their story is going to inspire and uplift you to succeed. They can tell you things that I believe no one else on the entire planet can. But without any further ado, because you'll understand why in a moment, I'd like to introduce you to Sister Kate and Sister Hilda, whose story is one that will blow your mind.
High times, hustle, roll it, light it, muscle. Culture in the veins, it's a never-ending bustle. High times, hustle, roll it, light it, muscle. New wave rising, Josh got the vision.
Thank you, Josh. It's so great to be here.
I'm so glad we met first at the Emerald Cup. And the moment you and I met, we knew we had that connection, right?
Yes, we did. I was so excited you were there because personally, I'm 66 years old. I don't care about papers. Why would I care about papers? But when we were introduced to your product 5 years ago, everyone in our enclave said, we're not smoking anything else. This is it. We went overnight to being raw fans. And we have been since. So I was very excited when they said, Josh is here to meet you. I was just, that was like a bucket list moment for me.
I know. Then when I see you smoking my stuff, it means so much to me. I keep trying to gift you more and more to make sure that you have more than you'll ever need.
Oh, you do. That's so sweet of you. And we have stories. We have stories now because we've been so raw stubborn and we've been all over California that we have raw stories. So we'll have to get to them.
So what I'd like to start with is the background of the Sisterhood, because I think our viewers would love to understand how this occurred.
Okay. If I get too wordy, you're just going to have to shorten this, Josh. Shorten me, okay? But I'll start with Sister Occupy and the Occupy movement. I basically raised my children in the Netherlands. I was there on assignment. I was a consultant. I made good money. I had a cook. I had a driver. I was doing very well. But my partner and husband stole all the money and left me penniless, and I had to come back to America at a terrible time with 3 children who are in middle school, and you can't afford your own cell phone, let alone cell phones for them. And then I thought, oh, well, I'm American. There will be a safety net. Someone will help me. But no, I was wrong. There is no safety net here. No one was going to help me. So from that, I decided, my brother was also going through a divorce, and he was in California. So I had 3, he had 2. We were both poor from the divorce. That's what divorce does to people. And it was a question of, should he come to the East Coast by me or should I go to California by him? I wanted to go to California because I didn't want to be in a red state. And he was completely politically oblivious. So in the end, we decided to move to California and launch a cannabis collective with the teenagers that were living under our roof. And so we did that in a way.
What was the name of the collective?
It was called Care Growers. And the way we did that is so there was these influences were happening. I'm living with my brother. He's got total stoner kids. I got 3 kids I just brought from Europe who play soccer year-round, and one studies harp, and one studies piano, and they all study foreign languages, and they come from a very sort of upscale, entitled environment that we created. And then we take them to California, where my brother made processed food every night and fed it to his boys at their gaming stations so that they would never have to leave their gaming station. 17 and 19 years old and total stoners and total dropouts. So here I have to create a cannabis culture of my own with the kids. And it worked for me. I made it work. Like I said that they wanted me to open a cannabis collective. So did my brother, because they knew I'd know the legal ways of handling it and how to get the lawyers and everything. And I wanted them to grow me vegetables. So I made a deal with them. You can grow weed for the cannabis collective. You also grow me vegetables. And made rules with the kids that we're growing weed in a place we're having our first collective in a town in a county that doesn't like weed and doesn't like hippies and doesn't want this here. So your friends at high school in college are gonna try to hit you up for weed. You have to leave your platforms open, your cell phones open. I got to be able to inspect everything at any time. And what happened is we grew and we flourished. But after 4 years, I realized that it would always be a small business because it would always be local. And by that time, I was beginning to understand the different compounds in the cannabis plant, and I was starting to really pay attention to the non-psychoactive stuff and to start dreaming of doing something that would bring outside money from the rest of the world into the poor Central Valley, like what happened when the almond growers first started there and other agricultural industries started.
You said Central Valley. Where were you at this point?
Central Valley of California, like in Merced, but between Fresno and Sacramento. It's like a wasteland, but there's a lot of Mennonites there. And in the end, we bought a farm where the Mennonites were, and we're very happy we did that. It's cool to grow around spiritual people. So at the same time, Occupy broke out. So while I'm doing the collective, and I'm already feeling like a nun because I am basically only allowed to deliver cannabis to seriously neurologically impaired or dying people. So I already felt like a nun. I was Mother Teresa. I was taking weed to dying people all around, and I was making the kids work with me. And when you're dealing with dying people, if they need more than weed, like they need cigarettes or they need turkey for Thanksgiving, you act like Mother Teresa and you just get them what they want and you bring them what they want because you're dealing with people who are about to transition. And the children worked on this, and I watched them grow up, and I watched their empathy come to the forefront as they got more serious about their academics. And by the way, they've all done very well for themselves. So, but what happened to me is that I'm in the middle. I'm with all these kids. I'm growing weed. The Occupy movement springs up. There's going to be an Occupy meeting in our town. And every morning we had sort of a ritual. The older kids would always come and smoke a little weed with me in the morning before they went off to do whatever they had to do. And that morning I said, oh my God, Michelle Obama tried to talk to Congress about how unhealthy our children's meals are. And Congress filibustered her. I was so insulted for all women, and especially for black women. They filibustered her so that they wouldn't have to listen to her speak. And then a week later, they gathered on taxpayer dollar to declare pizza a vegetable. This is their big finger to Michelle Obama. I was so insulted. And I said, if pizza is a vegetable, then I'm a nun. Well, the oldest one of the boys, who's 20 years old, said, you should go with that, Auntie. You should be that nun. You should go to Occupy as a nun. And I said, that's ridiculous. And he said, you brought all those crazy costumes. There's a costume bin upstairs. I think there's a nun costume up there. And he came down with an old-fashioned Catholic nun outfit. So I put that on sort of on a dare from these teenagers who are very woke and very conscious and very paying attention politically. They were also, like I said, pushed towards being vegan in the family or vegetarian most of the time. Very conscious. So we went to Occupy, and I got what I thought was my 15 minutes of fame as Sister Occupy. It turned out that all the traditional old-fashioned newspapers in the area were very interested every time I wrote an article about a protest I went to, and they published it. So I thought, oh, wow, this is cool. People are paying attention. In being Sister Occupy, I tripped around for 4 years, and as people got to know me and got to know that I was sort of an activist nun, and this was just kind of a finger to the establishment and kind of saying, like, no, you guys don't declare who's holy and who's sacred, not when you've screwed things up so badly, it sparked a 4-year discussion of what would a New Age order of nuns look like. And everybody wanted me to create a religion, and my attitude was not favorable towards religions. I was much more interested in growing an eco-feminist revolution, where the women go back to farming and making their medicine, and we return to ancient ways. I was more interested in a return to ancient ways.
This is really key, right? Because this is the point, I think, of which it really started, where you started to wake up, when you realized that you had this calling.
Yes.
Where I think that's when, because up to that point, it's a journey. So you're walking down a path, and suddenly you got to, I guess they would call it a milestone, where suddenly you realized, wait, and this is, I think, where you start to really blossom as who you are.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that I had to lose everything. I had to lose everything and be left penniless to be bold enough to do something that's new and different, edgy and creative. And
that's the way. My story, your story, most stories I hear, it's the thing of getting knocked down. And when you're knocked down, when that happens, when you hit the ground, the very, very base, bottom's hell, it's coming out of there, you come out as a completely different person. So it is sort of like going through a death almost, It
is.
But when you come back out of that, because you've already lived a life and now you're living a second life, you come out with the knowledge of that past, and you get a chance to kind of rebuild yourself. And I think the toughness that you went through and what you went through in that, I think that's partially what led you to have my grandma's term, guts to do what you've been doing, man. I think that's what brought you out of there. But now you connected and you realized there was a more spiritual way to do this.
Yes. And it was also just exasperation with no spirituality around in our culture, like being sucked dry with capitalism or the corrupt form of capitalism, putting its claws over everything. And when you're made homeless, which like I was, and you walk down a building and you can only sleep in your car, and you see that the air conditioning is running for the computers in that office building, it's rather upsetting to a human being. They're like, wow, there's so much wrong with this. I don't know where to start. But in that sort of protest stage as Sister Occupy, I'm like, I lost everything. I'm living with my brother and his good graces here in California in a strange place with my kids, and I'm only selling weed to old people who can barely afford it. So if they can't afford it, we just give it to them for free, which made me a lousy business person with our little business. But I was straddling this kind of Mother Teresa calling, like these people, their livers are dying. They can't get pain relief without cannabis. So suddenly I'm doing something that's super noble, super cool. The children that had to bury these people would bring me ashtrays or remnants that were their father or auntie's favorite thing. And so it was a very elevating experience, and it was the opening of my calling. And then I wanted to do something that was really for the women, where we returned this to the women. So I'm going to take a break there. I don't know if you want to say something or if you want me to lead right into the Native American experience.
Well, it's I do want you to talk about the Native American experience. One piece I want to give you before we start going full on again is something that I've been told a bunch of times, and I do my best. I'm not very good at it. When I don't know if you know my story of having a stutter. When I grew up, I had a stutter.
No, I never heard that story.
Yeah, so I grew up with a stutter, and my grandmother fortunately loved me very much, so she took me to see a speech therapist. And in doing so, the speech therapist told me, I was very little, like 7, it isn't that you have a problem with your mouth, it's that your brain is going faster than your mouth can form words. You have to slow down the way you think in order to connect it with the way that you talk. And once they're connected, you'll never stutter again. Well, I heard that. I went home, and sure, slowing down the brain, fine, I heard that part. But what I really picked up from it was I needed to talk faster. So I came back, and I started talking like a mile a minute, like I could talk faster than one speed, one person. So I learned, it worked though, at least I wasn't stuttering. And then doing that, I learned to slow it down over the years. I still have a natural tendency to speak faster than anyone other than the Irish can understand. So I try now. People say to me things like, Josh, say 5 things slowly, we'll pick them up. If you say 10 things quickly, we got nothing. I try my best to pace myself. I fuck up most of the time. My friends over there will tell you. But see if that, I'm trying to help you with things that have been said to me, which is if we can get 5 points out in a way that they really hear it. Especially humans, like they have these pauses they need to kind of reflect and bring in the knowledge. You know, the brain ears are going in there, comes in, and then they need that pause for the knowledge to settle. Then more, we kind of go in pulses as humans.
Right. Okay.
So if you can give them that sort of.
So if someone asked me, this was a crazy thing you did to be a self-declared nun. It's a crazy thing to start an order of nuns in this time. What caused that? I would say, first of all, I lived in Europe for 10 years and saw functional capitalism reside next door to socialism, hand in hand, working very well.
And it worked perfectly.
Then I come back, and they take care of their old, and they take care of their young,
Yeah.
and they have better education than we have and better quality of life. Then I come back to America, to Kentucky, and I go through a divorce, and I'm left with 3 kids penniless after I have worked my ass off for 10 years to save $1 million so I don't become that woman. And I become that woman who's broke, whose husband took all her money, and no one was going to help me. There was absolutely no, it's perfectly legal for a husband to steal all his wife's money in this country. Didn't know that. So no one would help me. So then I moved to California and start working with the cannabis plant, which I had never done in my life. Working with the cannabis plant is its own spiritual experience. It's a feminine plant. So it was a walk away
Wait,
from...
it's a feminine plant. Say that again. I think people need to hear that.
Plant.
Yeah, they
and
need to understand that.
It speaks to the feminine, divine feminine in men and women.
Yeah.
I worked with Mexican growers because I didn't know anything about it. And I would watch them take their little boombox out with the plant and put on their special music and sit with them and just sit and not work. And I think, what the hell are they doing out there? He's just sitting with the plants. There's an energy transference. There's a respect they do. And I actually learned it from the Mexican growers. So that was my first experience. Then I'm living with these politically active kids. We're trying to make a go of things in a hard time. We're understanding how the deck is stacked against us. And we become activists in the Occupy movement. And then from the Occupy movement, that leads me into very interesting places, like being invited to a very special 60 tribes meet on top of a mountaintop every year.
Yeah, this is what I want to hear.
And it got me invited there, like to a place that no one gets invited to.
60 tribes.
60 tribes once a year meet on Tule River Mountain, and they practice their ancient rituals for 5 days. For 4 nights and 5 days, they practice their ancient rituals. And for me to go with another sister, we had to be like, it was like going being debriefed by the military.
Yeah.
We had to be told what that means. We had to understand it. We had to be like in a 3-hour talking circle with an elder who we stand the whole time. And they explain their customs, and then they make sure you understand them before you go on this mountaintop. And part of that, I learned that, wow, the tribes, if you're a healer, they invite you in. We're healers, so we're invited in just because we're healers. That's a survival thing of the tribes, and it's so logical to invite in any kind of healer. So I'll back up a little bit on how I met David the Elder and got connected to the Yaqui tribe and how they also inspired the beliefs of the sisterhood. Once a year in Fresno before the pandemic, there would be about 12 people a year that would die homeless. And once a year, people would arrange, I don't know who did this, honestly, artists, restaurant owners, they would arrange for the renderings of all the people that died homeless to be put large on picnic tables in a park. Food would be bussed in. Homeless people from the greater Fresno area would be bussed in, and there'd be an honorarium for these people that died.
Wow.
Like it'd be nice if we could organize ourselves to keep that from not happening.
Of course.
But since it happened, it was something that this group did every year, and they invited me. So when I went, I took my basket of little teas and tinctures and salves that I always had on my arm as Sister Occupy. I took them everywhere. And I'm giving away salves to the homeless. I'm giving away medicine to the homeless. And the Native Americans were there to do a medicine circle with their drumming, to do healing for the people there through their drumming. So it was beautiful. It was very touching. David comes to me afterwards and says, Sister, my name's David the Elder of the Yaqui tribe. I think I need your phone number. I said, okay. So whatever, gave the elder my phone number. Like that night he calls me. When I answered the phone, he says it like this. Sister, every year there's this special gathering of 60 tribes on the top of a mountaintop, and I have a Down syndrome daughter, and she's 16 years old, and I take her every year, and she's really gotten on the nerves of the other women there because I'm busy. I have to be at the disposal of the chiefs. I can't watch her. So I would like you two sisters to come and escort my daughter on this trip. And I said to him, sir, we're not those kind of nuns, thinking that he's very confused. He thinks we're Catholic nuns. And then he said, the funniest thing to me, he said, I don't give a rat's ass what kind of nun you are. I'm inviting you to something damn special. You want to go or not? And I said, yes, sir, we will be there.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you have to be down there on Wednesday night because you can't just go up there. You have to be debriefed on our customs and what that means. So that began a relationship. So I go up on this mountaintop, and David made sure I was introduced to all of the women who made medicine by ancient wisdom, who did it by the cycles of the moon, who did it by custom.
Cycles of the moon. I need to hear more about this.
Okay, so this is the idea that you put up a batch on a new moon and you complete a batch on a full moon, and this is something that's been done in multiple cultures since the
For how
beginning
long?
of time,
Beginning of time,
before
right?
we had clocks.
Right.
So the Catholic nuns would argue me that this has been done in prehistory. And why? It's just logical. They didn't have clocks. The moon's clocked a 2-week period. Most tinctures and things that you set take 2 weeks. So it makes a lot of sense that you'd use the moon to guide your medicine-making rituals, as did the Native Americans of this land and the Maori people in New Zealand and the ancients of all lands.
Do you think it's just for time? Because I think it's much more.
No, I think there's also an energy transference
Yeah,
that's related
I
to the
agree.
moon. And it's also particular to the women, the cycles of the moon. It's personal to us. So I think there's much more magic that goes in, but at a very simple basis. Sometimes you have to explain things at their simplest points. Where sisters will say to me, don't you think covering your hair is a way of repression? And I say, no, I look at it like we're protecting our hair, which is our tentacles, which is important to us because it's part of our radar, right? And so it's not protection. It's not suppression. It's protection. So it is the same way with this. In the more simplest form, the moon cycles guide the actions of the tribe. They guide the timing of the tribe.
So it's all about the moon.
It's all about the moon, and it's all about the moon energy. I mean, actually, I don't know if you know this. I just learned this recently. At one time, women in ancient history were associated with the sun, and men were represented by the moon.
Wow.
You know why? Because the sun is always on, always consistent, always goes to bed at the same time, always gets up at the same time, very reliable, just like a woman, and just like a mother has to be. And men, they're here or not. They go out for cigarettes, and then they don't come back for 18 years. So I'm like, this makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I can't ignore the physical tie between women and their moon cycles and the moon. So there definitely is a connection. So I think there's much more than I understand, but this is at its basic core. So while I'm on the mountaintop and I'm getting introduced to these incredibly 90-year-old women who are talking very sweetly and honestly with their practices. And then I say, so who are you teaching to do this? Well, for when you die. And they all had the same answer, that it's against their custom to share their knowledge with anybody who isn't walking a strict red road. Well, I had to say, yeah, but you were born in like what? 1902? Was there any electricity? Was there even cars? Was there anything digital? And they would laugh, and they would had a very earnest conversation about the fact that their hands are tied. This is the way they were taught.
Yeah.
They disrespect their elders if they break it. This is their rule. But you, honey, you aren't bound by that.
Wow.
So if you want to carry the medicine and show respect to our lineage and to our walk, then we're happy for you to create your little pink road, but be good, because we'll be watching you. And that is true, because you don't get real approval from the natives. You only get conditional approval, which I love.
Are they still following you?
Yes, and like if I make a step out of line, there's two people quick to call me on it. The Native Americans and the Catholic nuns, because I have relationships with both of them. And like just recently, I got my ass chewed by a Catholic nun in Canada for showing that picture of you holding the BB gun. And I'm like, we were scaring the possums away from the chickens. That's all we do with the BB gun. We don't shoot anything. But she was very offended.
So, but now they taught you this method, and that's incredible. Did they teach you to bless?
They shared with me that their beliefs in the energy transference, which was something I was kind of already doing.
Okay.
And that's why I got invited up there. When David would ask me about my medicine making, I was like, I'm making it by the cycles of the moon. I'm planning to do this. I'm planning to do that. So I don't know that they didn't like lead me into any special secrets that they held. It was more a philosophical discussion of never allowing angry energies near your medicine making. Don't allow the children and the animals to come running through.
And why not?
Your native, because they are not conscious to whether they're being harmonious or not. They're just doing them. Kids and dogs, they just do them. So you can't say be on your best behavior as you walk through our kitchen. So you make a safe space that's like your sanctorum, and that's what they encouraged. And make your medicine in there to the extent that you can have your sisters do no harm during that period. So they were very inspiring. I don't know that they shared anything that wasn't. They believe like me that no ideas are really new. Ideas filter around the planet. You can reach up and connect to one or not.
Right.
And so my ideas and theirs were connecting, and they helped feed me. Like a code that you're going to have to walk by if you're going to do this. And they helped me understand that I would be honoring my ancestors and the ancestors of the land if I can make this happen.
Is this what led to you blessing your plants?
Yes.
I know that you
yes,
do.
this all led to me
think that's
developing
beautiful.
our own spiritual. I had to go, holy shit. I came down from the mountaintop and I'm like, holy shit. If I do this, they're okay with it. They're not going to call this cultural appropriation, but they are going to visit me. And they're going to make sure I do everything right. Like if I opened a sweat lodge on my farm, that would be very insulting to them. That's their culture. What the hell do I know, white girl, about a sweat lodge? So I have to be very respectful how I do everything. But we did come off that mountaintop going, holy cow, I have to cement this in a belief system. And that led me to my research.
I've got a really important point that ties into this. One of the things that I'm trying to do with this podcast that's so important, and it's something that you're already doing, is I truly believe the only part of us that lives on forever, the only part of us that's really immortal of this, not our energy continues on, but this, the brain and this sort of thing, is the part that we inject into the global human consciousness, into the Borg collective, so to speak, They injected that into you, because otherwise that knowledge of those 90-year-old ladies was gone.
Right.
That path was gone. By sharing it with you, it continues on, and by you sharing it with her and them and everyone else, that knowledge now continues on, and that piece of them, that thing that has been passed on from generation to generation that was about to go away, now continues on and lives on forever, which is beautiful. It's so beautiful. I think that's so important, because otherwise all of that gone. Imagine all that beauty, all that knowledge, all that incredible passion and connection just end.
Yes. And that's so sad. And that's what
But
that was my
I-
argument to
but
them.
I'm so
you
thankful
can't
that
let
you're doing this, though.
die because
Yeah.
it's too elegant, and what they do is so graceful, and what they do is just the honoring of the energy. Like when you asked, do you bless your things all the way? Well, it's different because we bless our hands before we start the medicine, but we bless the supplies as they come in the door, and then we bless the batches when they are done. And then we put a different prayer when they go out the door for protection and to keep the grubby hands of postal workers or customs officials from corrupting our medicine and getting it straight to the people. So it's multiple processes.
You're trying to protect the energy.
We're protecting the energy, and so we're shitty about letting men in our abbey where the medicine is making. We're shitty about letting the kids and the animals in there, but for us, yeah, it might be a little bit militant, but that's our medicine, dude. That's healing people. That's like you wouldn't let any dogs run through a cancer ward. Why would we want them around our medicine?
The medicine itself. Tell me the story of the first batch you ever grew.
Oh, Josh, I can't believe you asked me. So, first of all, to have a batch, my brother had made me homeless. He was mad because I wouldn't let him do any black market deals. We were making only a little bit of money on our nonprofit. And so there was this fight about the black market. And so one day in a fit of temper, he throws me out. So now my mother helped me get a place. And so I was only homeless really for like a month. I feel very blessed. My mother helped me get a place. And then I had 2 bedrooms, so I immediately rented one to a grower and said, you can have cheap rent if you grow my weed in the backyard. So he helped grow my first crop. So that was like, my first crop was in the fall of 2014. I opened the Sisterhood in January 1 of 2015. I was sold out of everything. By June, I could see it coming before a new harvest came. I was sold out of everything. I could see this in March or April. This is going well, but I'm going to need more CBD. These guys were mean to my CBD. The only reason that they grew my CBD in the backyard is because I let them grow their THC in the backyard. So I would go out there and go, damn, mine are laying on the ground with spiders. You guys have pretty poles that might have strippers on them for all I know. And my stuff's being treated like crap. So they really treated my CBD poorly. But so I see that I'm going to run out. I say to the growers, hey guys, I need a bigger crop this fall because this is working. And they say, well, we're going to have a grow op. We're getting land. There's 3 of us doing a deal. The Mexican guy's buying the land. The white guy is going to take care of tending the crop. It was all upside down. I freaking loved it. The Mexican's buying the land. The white guy's going to do all the labor. And the other white guy's going to assist the labor guy. And there were 3 of them in this deal. And they were going to grow 80 plants. And I said, you need to make 20 of them mine. And they're like, CBD. And then why would we grow CBD? CBD is stupid. No one's going to grow CBD.
I love
You're
CBD.
crazy. So I said, what if I guarded the crop? And they are like, what do you mean? Suddenly I got their attention because they were going to all have to stay there because it was an unguarded piece of property out in the middle of nowhere. So I said, what if I guarded the crop? What if I got an RV and I got a gun and I guarded the crop? And they said, Sister Kate, have you ever owned a gun? And I said, no. But like, it's not really hard. I'll figure it out. Like anybody can get a gun. And they're like, you don't have an RV? I can get this. I can get an RV. I can get a gun. So I made a deal with them. I bought a $5,000 RV and I bought about a $800 gun.
It looked like Walter White's RV.
Yeah, it did. It really looked like something you'd do meth in. It was old and cheap, and it did. And we put it out there, and then my job was to guard the crop. And then one day Zane comes, and I didn't do it alone because I couldn't live in an RV all the time. So I had my son and another guy rotating off me. And one day he comes home and goes, I'm sorry, we're about 4 weeks from harvest, but I'm sorry, some tweakers have discovered our crop. And we exchanged fire today. I went, what? He goes, yeah, I just shot at him to tell him to go away. I'm like, you know they're going to come back. We have to, oh no, I'm not sleeping there alone tonight. You're coming with me. So I went and we slept together, and it was we had 2 pit bulls. We did it real old school. We had 2 pit bulls tied up. 5 a.m, the pit bulls start moving around, and I say it's showtime. And as I swing, I say it's showtime, Zane. And as I swing my feet to the floor, the bullets went under my bed. They had machine guns. They had like automatic guns that were doing boom, 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 and riddling the side of the RV. Glass was going. They blew out the glass in my car. They blew out the glass in his car. They blew out all the glass. I was on the floor. He had the sense enough to aim at the crop and start shooting. It was dark. He aimed at the crop and started shooting. That's where he had the smarts to think, okay, they're shooting us from over here. Somebody's robbing our crop over there. So he started shooting towards the crop and heard these guys, the guys from the crop holler, stop firing. They're shooting at us. So then the firepower stopped. And then they disappeared. And then I called everybody I knew who had a gun and offered $100 if they'd come help me get the crop out.
Wow.
Then I had a big fight with my grower that day because I knew they were going to come back, and I wanted it to look like the rapture. I wanted that when they came back, there wasn't a twig, there wasn't a leaf, and my grower was having a fit because they just top the good weed and get the hell out and leave the stumps and leave the. But no, I wanted it to be clean.
Oh my
I wanted
God.
it to look like Mary herself
Yeah.
came down from heaven and
Removed it.
raptured that crop
Yeah.
away from the thieves and the trailer. So that's what we did.
First question is, was there any actual bullet damage? Crop? Did you notice like a bud that had been shot down?
Nothing. The crop never got hit. There was a fence around it. So there were holes in the fence around it, but the crop itself never. But my RV had 18 bullets that we
my
pulled
God.
out. I actually still saved one.
Okay.
Uh,
Now, two things. One is the sound. This is amazing. I wish this was a movie because I want to watch it. I want to watch it, you know? But speaking of movies, I know you've been down in Hollywood.
we actually have a. I don't like to talk about it because they made us look so gangster. They're very focused on this gun story. So there's an Amazon Breaking Habits that was done early on in the Sisterhood. We were in our first or second year, and it tells about the fight with the city and so forth. But Josh, I have a funny story about your raws. I think
Really?
you're really gonna like. Because last summer we do get invited to weird shit. We got invited to a reality TV show that was totally scripted. And we got invited to
all?
a drama where it was not scripted at all,
Oh,
where
good.
the producer would be like, okay, you're going to talk about this, so whatever feels good, go talk about it. So I'm like, wow, Hollywood's so weird. The reality show was completely scripted. The drama, the producer doesn't want to put words in your mouth, so he won't do a script. So
Yeah.
it's all upward. But anyway, we went to Hollywood last summer, and our main role, 8 sisters, was to smoke weed in the background for a film that was being developed. All they wanted us to do is smoke weed in the background. So we go down there, and they had hired union people who obviously never smoked in their life to sit and roll lots and lots of joints. So for the 10 days of filming, every day there'd be joints in every ashtray. So you imagine they spent some money on people sitting,
What was in the joint?
oh, God, lavender and mullein and thyme. I don't know. They just picked like 3 herbs and put it in there. And then it was the crappiest white paper joints that no one has smoked in 20 years.
Yeah, they're
I
all
haven't
90s
seen
paper, I know it.
anybody smoke them.
Yeah.
So the first day of filming, we're required to smoke them, and it was a couple hours before they called cut. And the sisters gathering like, Sister Kate, you have to do something about this. This is disgusting. We'll all be dead. We're all going to be dead in a week if we have to smoke these every day.
It
So
hurts
then
your throat. I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They were already going. One's going, I'm going to throw up, Sister Kate. If you make me do that again, I'm going to throw up like this. They're doing their thing. So then I called the producer and whoever my contact was, and I said, and they were so disappointed. They sent a man over and said, Sister Kate, your sisters don't like our joints. We worked so hard on
Oh.
them. They used my own shit on me, Josh. We put healing intention into them.
Okay.
They were using my own words. And I said, dude, no, you don't smoke, do you? And he goes, no. And I go, and all the people who helped you roll these, they don't smoke either. And he goes, no. And I go, because if you did, you wouldn't be giving us like glue paper to smoke. So he said, what do we need to do? And I said, you need to go find raws because now I got to make a lot of them. There's a lot of people here, and you need to just get the cones, get the large cones, and just go buy as many as you can. So they came back with like boxes of raw cones.
Yeah.
And then they were gone. The next day I go, I need more cones. So then they go for no cones. So it ended up being that because we had this film set was set with stoners. So the stoners weren't just on set. The stoners were back at our hotels, and people knew the weed nuns had weed, which is often the case. The weed nuns have weed. So we were going through a bit of them. So we get to the end of the 10 days of filming, and the crew lets me know, Sister Kay, we don't have anything but our stuff for you guys to smoke because all the raws are sold out. Like, we went to stores an hour from here, and they're sold out in every store. And I said, well, not good enough. Send somebody an hour and a half. So we actually got Brother Dwight to go an hour and a half away to get us our last sets of raws. And I just thought that was hilarious.
That's
we
awesome.
sold you out.
Isn't it amazing though? You can taste it. That's how I try to explain to people.
Once you smoke a raw,
Yeah, it's
you
different.
never go back.
It's
It
different.
is so fast because you taste the crap in there.
Yeah.
You really taste the crap in there.
Yeah, you can. It's the thing with raw is not what you taste; it's what you don't taste.
Exactly. With raw, you're having the experience of the flower you're smoking. And with anything else, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I'm not a paper expert, but anything else, you get a taint.
Yeah, well, the calcium carbonate is gonna. Yeah, I can taste it. I can taste it. My friends can taste it, and we're like, no, we're good,
Yeah,
thanks.
right.
But I want to bring you back because I feel like we skipped over something really important. So in the beginning, now you are establishing this.
Yes.
I want to talk about that. I want to understand, like, overall, like, how did this happen? And who were the first sisters?
Okay. So First, I started this alone, and I felt a bit like an idiot, and I didn't want anybody to accuse me of being an imposter. So I would get, every time a new moon or full moon came, which marked our medicine, new moon opens as a badge, full moon closes a badge, I would make someone witness me. And you guys, I would get the most unlikely people. Like, I would take a newly recovered meth addict or somebody who was about to go into didn't care. I just wanted a human sitting there. So sometimes I'd be doing my ceremony in the backyard to somebody who's completely not there and just chain soaking cigarettes, but doing Sister Kate a fat one because she'll give him some weed if you just witness my ceremony. I just had weird shit because I knew I wanted to do this authentically, and I was on my own, and I really didn't care if I was on my own for a long time. I was leaving it up to the universe and the Mother Goddess to bring me other sisters when the time is right. But in the meantime, I'm just going to try to be as true to my practices by myself as I can. And that meant that every time I did like a spiritual practice, I wanted a witness to it. And so I would get people to witness it.
Okay, so people are witnessing your spiritual practices.
Yes. And then from there, I got my first cease and desist order and had to get out of Merced. But I didn't care because I was on my way to the farm in the county anyway. And so then I moved to the farm but right before I was about to move in the farm on the county, Darcy showed up. She wasn't a total surprise. It was a friend I had known from Amsterdam, said, I had a young girl here who's seen you. This is up in Oregon, who's seen you on social media. She knows what you're trying to do. I told her a little bit about it. Is it okay if she joins you? Are you ready? I said, I'm never going to be ready, but okay, let me talk to her. So I had 2 or 3 phone interviews with her. She was hardcore vegan. I liked that. She was only like 28 years and had been vegan since she was 21. She had worked on an interesting farm in New Zealand for many years on an island where they delivered eggs, but everybody on the farm was vegan. But they delivered eggs and dairy products to everybody on the island, which I thought was cute. And anyway, she showed up. After like our 3rd call, this friend of mine calls and says, are you ready? I said, I'm never going to be ready. So, okay. And he goes, well, she doesn't have any money, so I'm giving her train ticket and I'm giving her money to get you. And I said, okay. And a couple of days later, I expected that she'd want me to pick her up at the train station or something, but very independent, fiercely independent. She brings my doorbell. I say, hello. I said, don't you have any luggage? And she goes, don't you have uniforms? That's how we started. And I went, oh, good point. Come on in.
That's awesome.
So that was this beginning with Darcy. And then moved to the farm, started practicing the spiritual practices now where we had more room. We could invite other people from the community. And the first thing we did was reach out for female tax collector, female people on the law, female university professors. We just did a total sexist thing where we just went for our first moon ceremonies are just going to be populated by women in government, women in offices, women in power. And
Makes
that
sense.
started making us very good relationships that stood by us through the years.
Yeah. But I want to hear a story of the craziest story of someone who applied to be a nun or tried to be a nun. Maybe they didn't work out, but I want to hear it because I've heard stories. I want to hear one of them.
Oh, God. This will make such a great sitcom one day because really, we don't put a barrier. So a sister comes, she wants to be a sister. Our thing is you start out as a novitiate, and then you work your way to an Orthodox sister. Orthodox sisters are the hardcores. We're committed for life. We're going to live the life. We're never going to change doing what we're doing.
Period.
Right.
So you have an Orthodox sister. What's the other kinds?
Then we have novitiates that they haven't taken their vows yet. They're with us, but they haven't taken their vows. It's a 2 to 3 or 4 year process before we decide somebody's in it for life or not.
Yeah.
It's a time. And then we have satellite sisters like Sister Corinna in New York City and Sister Esme in San Diego who have been given special dispensation by the Pope to live in their little corners of the world because they're doing special work for us.
Yeah.
But they also spend at least 1 month a year on the farm working with us. So they
still
connect
connected.
to the spiritual
Yeah,
practices.
still connected. Here's something I want to get to. Okay. Because I'm having too much fun, and I'm realizing I'm having too much fun. So what I want to get to is stuff because I really want to help the audience. That's my goal of this podcast to the nth degree. I really want to see them win so badly.
Oh, Josh, fuck them. You guys have to cut that out.
We will. Don't worry. My goal is to uplift them and to help them because if they succeed, and if they succeed because of stuff that you and I have shared, then we have, in essence, helped uplift the world, which is a beautiful freaking thing. And in turn, it uplifts us. This is the way it always works, right? So my question for you is, I know that you have been through some incredible freaking legal hurdles, regulatory challenges, cease and desist, probably lawsuits, all the usual bullshit that comes with operating a true, innovative small business, especially someone like you who's going to be true to principle, very true to principle. They are going to come at you with like as hard as they can because you're the antithesis of what they stand for. So I want to hear some of these stories and how you overcame them to share in a way that helps them overcome them, because they're going to go through the same thing. They really are.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I would think that, okay, let me back up on this. Yes, Josh, I always say we could paper an entire bathroom with the cease and desist orders that we've gotten, because from the minute we started, there's always been some government agency trying to shut us down. First, it was the city of Merced. Then it was the sheriff's department. Then it was, oh, by the way, this is more of the Coolio's son story. Coolio's son, who was 7 years old but a big boy, helped us with harvest. And then went to the second grade, where he went every day on Monday and told all the teachers and all the kids that he helped the weed nuns bring in the harvest over the weekend. Yeah. What do you think happened? We had CPS all over our place that Monday morning, wondering what we were doing if we were using child labor. So yeah, there's no agency that hasn't tried to put us down, but we've gotten. So how we survive it is my favorite Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone fact checks their articles, and Rolling Stone sent 2 female photographers to cover us in depth in 2023, I think. And when they called me with these questions, they couldn't get some straight answers from me. One of them was, Sister Kate, our photographer and reporter say there's 6 sisters living there right now. And I said, yes. And he goes, but I read somewhere else that there was 8. And I go, yeah, okay. And he goes, but I read over here that there's only 5. I go, yeah. And he goes, no, Sister Kate, this is not a lot of people. Like, tell me how many sisters are living with you. And I said, dude, you do understand that no one wants us here, right? You do know that we parked our asses in the middle of Mennonite country in like a very red county, and no one wants us here. So pick a number. I don't care. Well, that finally, he was satisfied with that. Like that made sense to him. And that really is the story. So I think originally I'd get a cease and desist order and I'd be so outraged. And that's why I enjoyed your advice so much on the last podcast, Josh. And I recommend everybody go listen to it if they haven't, because what you said was determination. You have to be very determined. You're just not going to, you know, people are going to knock you down. You know, they're going to try to interrupt your walk. Just be very determined. And then the young man that was interviewing said, is determination enough then? And you said, oh, hell no. You have to learn as you go. And that is exactly true. So as I went from, I think if you were going to show my own character development in the story, I went from, with every cease and desist or every challenge, I was outraged, I was indignant, I was going to be the warrior bitch. As I went along, I'd be like, how can I make this fight easier? Like, who's advising our sheriff? Does he pay for an advisor? Do we know the sheriff's advisor's wife's name? Could we get to her? Who's his counselor? Oh, damn, make a $2,000 check to that guy's campaign and get him to whisper in the ear of this guy. So, you know what I mean? You learn to be more strategic. You have to as you move along, because you can't just take on every fight with your fists.
Well, you have options, right? The option is to take on a fight with your fists. Sometimes you have no choice. It's awful.
Right.
Like sludgefest. Oh, God, war of attrition.
Right.
Terrible. Terrible. I hate that. You have options like you're talking about of finding ways around it, being like water, flowing around it, around any obstacle, or you have pivot. And I know you've done a lot of pivoting.
Yeah, I think I would talk to somebody else from Humboldt in the industry, and she's the one that put that in my mind, where she said, "You damn, Sister Kate, you can only do so much pivoting." And then you gave a great analogy. So
yeah.
you talk about that
Sure,
analogy.
yeah, we can. Okay, so when you pivot, you can pivot, and that's, you get hit, you have your choice. One great way is to pivot. But if you keep pivoting and pivoting and pivoting, next thing you know, you're just a ballerina spinning in circles, and you'll never get anywhere. So at some point, it's natural human tendency, pivoting, frustration ensues, and you realize, just like the rebel forces, that it's time to turn and fight. Right? It's time to go fight the Imperial Army. We've pivoted enough, guys. It's time.
Or go home.
Yeah, that's not really an option for the most part.
No, but I mean, I was that close this year. Close this year that I felt like, oh, no, they're going to win. I'm going to lose. I'm going to go down. And I was okay with that because I thought I sparked an idea. I sparked a concept. What we wanted to be was what we really wanted to do for people is go, look, you too can create your own enclave. You can create your own way of living. You can create your own code, your own standards, your own formula for harmony together, and create your own safety. That's what I was trying to do. And I'm just saying that the last 2 years have been so rough that like Mother Teresa had a crisis in faith at the end of her life, I was having a crisis of faith in the sisterhood. I actually recently said to the sisters, you know what? The trick of us always having the sisterhood is the same as the trick of a good relationship between a man and a woman. It's important that neither one of you fall out of love with each other at the exact same moment. So as long as I could afford to be out of love with the sisterhood for the last 18 months, because I had other sisters who were strong around me that were carrying the torch of that love, I could have my crisis of faith. Because really, with this last thing with the state in October, Newsom and 2 men from the California Public Health Department going behind closed doors and doing an emergency order that says the weed nuns can't exist anymore. What you've done for 10 years, you're out. That was too much for me. I'm like, okay, at what point do I say, okay, the patriarchy won and I'm done?
No, I'm not even going to let you go down that road for a second because I know you well enough to know that actually everything you've mentioned to me so far, you think you're giving up. The only words I've heard is that you were about to pivot again. Even the thing you mentioned, even talking about having them do the work, passing it over to Hilda or anything like that, that's just another freaking pivot. So nothing you've said to me so far that I've heard was actually giving up because I've seen people give up. Okay. And you're not saying the same words as them at all. Sorry, hit the mic. Okay. But no, so you were just about to pivot again and you did not want to.
Right.
You really did not want to.
Right.
And didn't seem like it was going to be a good pivot. But you don't know that. It could have, for all you know, the next pivot could have been the one.
Yes.
I pivoted many times in my freaking life. And if I hadn't been forced to, I certainly would not have. This is Homer's journey. This is the Iliad.
Yes.
This is the way it is. And that book was written for a reason because this is us. This is the way of humans, right?
Yes.
Especially if you're going to, especially if you are determined to walk a righteous path.
Yes.
You are going to have every rock thrown at you. You can imagine because it's so easy for someone who's not walking a righteous path to attack you. And because you are walking a righteous path, of course we fuck up. Of course, we're fucking humans.
Right.
We do fucked up shit all the time. We're humans. Such is life. But in the end, our goal and what we know of ourselves is that we're walking that damn righteous path. Because we're doing that, people that truly are not, let's call them sociopaths, for example. Mm-hmm. There are many within our industry. I wish they weren't, but they are. Mm-hmm. Part of humanity. They really despise you because you remind them of what they are not.
Right.
And they focus on you and they will target you. And now you are genuine and they know that they're not. They really know that they're not. They will attack you for doing good because they're not doing good.
Right.
Whatever they're attacking you for, you'll find something they're not doing or something they're doing wrong. They accuse you of something and you look at it, oh God, they're signaling to you. This is something that we're doing over here. That's why we're attacking you for it. I've learned this the hard way,
yes.
Amazingly so. The accuracy of what I'm saying to you is uncanny.
No, it's called projection.
Yes, the stuff that when I get attacked by someone, I'm like, oh my God, are you real? That means you're doing that.
Right.
Oh my God. It's like the person who says they hate gays.
Right.
You're like, oh, bro, cool, you're gay. That's awesome. Let's go hang out.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's go play gay bingo on Thursdays. They've got it down the road. It's so much fun. Come on, bro. It's like that, but that is the way. Because you are determined to walk a righteous path, they attack you, and they will continue to. And because you're insisting that your business remain like this, and you are blessing your plants, they ain't blessing their plants, man. They don't even understand the connection between humanity and plant. Right. And you do. Something you mentioned earlier, I heard the connection. I'm not sure if they did. You were talking about, oh God, my brain, I'm fucking such a stoner, I forget. But you were talking about a ritual that you do with your plants or the harvesting, and I realized it was connected to what you learned when you're on the mountain with the Native Americans. I think you've brought so much of that into what you do, didn't you?
Yeah, but I made mistakes too. I was innocent and stupid. So, like,
we're humans. Of course, we make mistakes.
Because the natives are very diligent about saging people that come into their home and saging anyone who goes. I had the sisters saging the plants for the blessings, and so I had both the Native American community and the Catholic nuns. It was hilarious that the Catholic nuns called me on it first. Sister Kate, Why are you saging plants? Plants are pure. They have no bad energy. They have no bad intention. You have to sage the humans who go near the plants. And that came from the Catholic nuns and then came in sort of a reverberation from the Native community. So I have these earlier videos that I look at of us blessing the plants, and I cringe every time I see them because it's like, you dumb girls. We're blessing plants that are pure. They have no evil intention. It's the energies that the humans collect that can carry that contamination to the plants.
Now, I agree with you, but there's a point. There's one thing I might slightly, not an evil intention, but it is a malintention. Some plants have. And I'd love to talk about it.
Sure.
Tobacco.
Okay.
I have studied tobacco. I truly understand the plant. I understand its feelings. I understand what it wants. I wish I didn't, but I did. I've grown a lot of tobacco. I've sold tobacco seeds, all this stuff. I really took a while. I really got stoned, as you can imagine, and really looked at this one plant I was growing, trying to understand what it was trying to tell me. Realized what it was trying to tell me, which was to leave it the fuck alone. And I thought about it. I was like, wow, everything I was getting from these plants was to leave it alone. I had put around my zucchini plants, I planted a whole bunch of tobacco. So the aphids would land on the tobacco plants, beautiful white flowering things, and they would burley 21, all the stuff, and the nicotine kills the aphid.
Right.
So my zucchini's growing great. Finally, the leaves don't have the holes. Everything's going great. But I'm looking at the end, I like to harvest the tobacco. You hang it upside down, you cure it with heat, without heat. Then I have my tobacco for the next season. Okay, great. I feel it from these plants of telling me to leave them alone. I could feel it. It was like, well, and I started realizing what nicotine actually is and what the tobacco plant is trying to do. Nicotine is a pesticide essentially an insecticide that it grows itself, emits it in order to kill bugs and poison animals such as us that eat it. Its method of its own protection is to tell us to stay away from it. It developed this to kill us. It wants me to get cancer. It wants me to die so that I'll stop fucking with it. I'll stop cutting it down and killing it. It's literally, no. So many other plants out there. Most other plants.
The natives, though, use it as an offering.
It's telling you what it's saying to me.
Tobacco offerings outside, but see, they don't smoke it. They're
different.
not putting it in their body. What they're doing is offering it back to the earth, and they do it outside every location that they arrive at as a tobacco offering before they go on to the land. So they're not consuming
They're not consuming it. It's different.
They're giving it back to the land.
Hemp, cannabis, CBD, whatever you want to call it, it wants us to consume it.
Yes.
Fruits, anything with fruit bearing, it really wants us to consume it because then we eat it, we ingest the seeds, right? We poop out the seeds. With our poop, it fertilizes it, and a new plant grows. So it's symbiotic with us. Please, Josh, come and eat me. My terpenes.
Right.
I am attracting you. I am calling to you.
Right.
With my terpenes. Come, eat me. Yes, thank you.
Right.
Poof, new plant. Yay! But tobacco is saying to me, stay away from me, Josh. Don't fucking do it, bro. I'll fuck your shit up. Don't do it, Josh. Don't. Josh, nope. Warning you. That's what I get from it. I have meditated these plants. I've tried to connect with these plants. I really feel like I understand them.
I agree.
This is my take on tobacco. And I love tobacco. I really do. Nicotine's a fun drug, but it doesn't want me to mess with it. I wanted to share that with you. And I want to share it with everyone. That's Josh's
brilliant.
take. Something I figured out about tobacco.
I still want to grow tobacco. We've tried before. We don't exactly have the right climate. We want to grow tobacco because we want to adopt that ritual that the natives have as the fire offering wherever you go, or the offering wherever you go.
It's in the Farmer's Almanac. It's a great pesticide.
Right.
That's what it's there for. So, okay, along the way, along your path, has any institution helped you? Has anyone stepped forward?
So yeah, I was talking to you about how
seemed like the end, yeah.
It seemed like the end to me. At least it seemed like the end of my journey with the business of the Sisterhood. It seemed like that to me, and it's because 2 years ago, 2 years ago, the SBA told us you ladies aren't going to be in business in a year. And a year ago, some New York venture capitalists came and said, we're going to make you a $15 million a year public company, but you have to put in everything you own, your underwear, your cars, the sandals, everything the sisters own has to go into the business in order to balance the balance sheet. And then we're going to make you into $15 million. You'll be ahead of this huge. And so we had to go away. Like everybody comes, and it seemed to me like when we're at Rescue, it was coming with a gift on one hand, but with the plan to steal with the other hand. You know what I mean? I was very suspicious. And
rightly so.
And then recently I was very worn out from the battle. So we're talking about pivoting. Like, how many times can you take up a battle? And I was the fighter. I was the one who went to every city council and every county meeting. And if they called us to the Capitol, we went to the Capitol. If we got called, we went. We were very good girls. For 10 years, we showed up. And all of a sudden, this shit happened with Newsom. That with behind closed doors, he puts me out of business. And I'm like,
Wait,
wow.
I don't think they understand. Basically, California essentially banned
the whole hemp industry.
Yeah, the whole hemp industry. CBD that I need and so many people need.
They just said, no, you can't do it anymore. So there's three things they said. They said it has to have 0% THC. Well, guess what? In 2015, a lab in Italy, a university in Italy, reached out to the sisters and said, sisters, would you like to experiment with 0 THC? And we said, yes, we're women of science. They said, we're going to send you crystallized CBD. So we did a test batch. It didn't bind with our salves, and it caused headaches to anybody who took it orally. We only did a small test batch. We never sold any of it because it was an abject failure, but it was done in the name of science. So we learned that you need a little bit of THC or this CBD isn't going to work.
Yeah,
and not only do you need a little THC, you need it in your salve or it's not going to bind to the oils. So we learned. So Newsom and the two corrupt people at the California Department of Public Health, one guy who made this rule and retired within 3 weeks, who I am following that mother because I think he's taking money from the track and trace. He's now a Berkeley professor. His name is Aragon or something like Thomas Aragon or something like that. So he was the former California Department of Public Health. The existing Department of California head of the California Department of Public Health, and Newsom said, no, nothing, 0 THC in all products. Also, no more than 5 units in a package. Josh, we sell 100 gel caps for $150 to cancer patients. So they're said with their little, in their wisdom alone in that room, they decided that those cancer patients, who's, by the way, insurance won't pay for these.
Right.
Now we'll pay $1,200 for 150 gel caps. Smart of them, right? And their third thing was that you have to say before you sell, you have to make sure that they're over 18. And even that we won't agree with. Why? Because we have been feeding a rich and full library for 10 years with scholarly works on hemp and how it is necessary for the planet. And we have high schoolers who do their research papers off of those because we have teachers sending us notes saying kudos for your work in the in an industry that needs an eco-consciousness. And so no THC, no THC, no to your making 18-year-olds over, and no to charging cancer patients. No, we're not doing it. So at that point, I went to the senators and the congressmen and asked them to intercede. This is how corrupt the California Department of Public Health is. And I'm going to say this one more time. The California's Department of Public Health is corrupt. I had the state senator of agriculture request a meeting for them on this issue, and they made her wait 5 months. She is our senator of agriculture, and they made her wait 5 months to talk to me. In the 5th month, when they talked, it was 1 week from public comments opening, and they didn't tell us, and they didn't tell her. In that meeting, they showed so much contempt for her and for me that they got off the phone before the conversation was over. So I turned to her and said, Senator Caballero, you have a problem. You've been just hugely disrespected as a woman by the California Department of Public Health, and I would take this personally. So at that point, I was sort of at my wit's end. Okay, they're going to take me down. I've lost. I've tried for 10 years. And like you said, Josh, I didn't have a defeatist like the order's going down. I had defeatists like my little piece of what I built is going down. The other sisters will have to carry on this mission under their own name with new banners or whatever. So this was just a couple months ago. So I was pretty much resigned to the fact that they won. They beat the shit out of me. They did a sneaky move, and I'm out. And then magic happened. And this is why people should never give up on the possibility of magic. Because then we get visited, because I was in public comments railing, and I was very insulting to the dispensary business. I blame them too. In there, I said, you just made a law that makes being a group of women who are specialists in non-psychoactive cannabis and non-psychoactive mushrooms. You just said we can't exist. You just said that expertise has to be in the hands of bud tenders or it can't be. Let me tell you, I've been trying for 10 years to get our products in dispensaries. I could tell you firsthand, the dispensaries don't give a shit about healing. This is how mean I was, Josh. I was so mean in the public comments. And what happened is, like, within 10 days, this weird thing happened. And I remember Sister Camilla coming, and I said, why are we having a meeting today with 2 dispensaries from LA? And why the hell are they coming all the way up from LA? It's like a 5-hour drive. She goes, I don't know, Sister Kate. They reached out after the public hearing, and they said they have gifts for us, and they promised they wouldn't take up much of our time. Well, they sent a lawyer. They sent a partner in Catalyst who's a lawyer with a woman from traditional also a chain of dispensaries and growers. And they came to say that they're sorry about what happened and that they actually lobbied for this law to get hot CBD out of dispensaries. And they did not know they were taking us down. And in fact, they made it pretty clear that their wives came home railing at them for, what are you guys doing? We're out here promoting your new law and restriction, and you're taking the weed nuns out. And apparently both of the owners' wives had been following us for so I think the women were pissed on our behalf. And then the next time they came, and they came with gifts, but you know what their best gift was? They came with the legal support to put the wording in at the Capitol that would protect us so we don't have to be worried about taking out. They had like a group of lawyers. They came, like to me it was very old school. Like I felt like I was a beguine in the castle, and finally someone from the castle came to visit us and showed us enough respect to say, hey, we did some shit that's going to knock you off your horse, but we also know how to fix it. Would you help us fix it? And I said yes. They got the wording to the Capitol. I got word that the Capitol is considering all of this. Like, it's looking good. It won't be over till it's over. And we got government officials, so I could be back here, Josh, in 3 months going, no, they went the other way. But it looks very much to me like the lawyers in this team from LA realized, oh, shit, we are the ones doing this, and we need to undo it. So 2 things happened from that. They presented us, which I think was an honest, good faith gift, which does help us out of our mess. And the second thing was, and we want to get your products in dispensaries, and we want to get your products in dispensaries, your products that you make on your farms. But we've already looked at the legislative schedule, and it may be 3 years before we're allowed to do that. So in the meantime, can we help you get other products into the dispensaries?
So this is Catalyst and Traditional?
Catalyst and Traditional.
Shout out to
and
Catalyst
they came with the hat in hand and gifts going, yeah, we might have created this shit show for you, but we want to fix it.
I think it's really interesting when someone in business actually finally does something good. Okay, this brings me back to something I do want to talk about, which is I believe, here's a story that was said to me once, and it stuck with me my whole life. It was said to me by someone very important to me, right? Part of the story was shared by Jack Harrer. It had to do with all life on this planet is connected. All life comes from one cell that split and split and split a trillion, gazillion, quadrillion times. Therefore, the CBD, the THC, the plant itself, you and I are incredibly related to it. We share most of our DNA with it because we come from that same cell. That is why they believe that finding the right plant can cure our ills.
Yes.
Because it's related to us. It's something.
And it's also an adaptogen. So like you were talking about your friend being a total stoner, and I said, she's got fibromyalgia. She's probably never gets high. The plant, she's never getting high. It seems like she consumes a lot. She has fibromyalgia. She's in constant pain. It's an adaptogen. She is not a stoner. She can't get high if she tried because her body is going to take all that medicine for pain.
And direct it right there.
So there's a magic in it. So if you either say there's magic here, I'd understand, or you say we are all connected. We are connected to every life thing on this planet. Every living thing on this planet is connected.
I truly believe we are. And then there's more to it, right? Isn't there? There's like, it has to do with signaling, right?
So I studied math at UCSC, and I was really interested in chaos theory. And it just talks about how, like, systems on Earth are very sensitive. Like, if you affect a system in any way, it ripples out in, like, unpredictable ways. And they are systems that are nonlinear and sometimes actually unpredictable. So every intention you have, every effect you have, it ripples out and affects everything else.
We're not allowed to say that CBD cures anything, right? This is really important. Not to us, but to...
No, we can say CBD can cure. That's what we say. It can. It has curative powers. That's what we say. It doesn't necessarily mean that you buy a bottle of gel caps and you have a sickness that you're just going to go home and take those gel caps and you're going to get better. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
But it has the potential for curing. And some people, okay, so I have this classic story. of my days when I was running Care Growers, and I had a man who had fourth stage liver cancer, and I recommended to him that he start juicing. Well, I always recommend go vegan and start juicing, because the first thing you have to do if you're seriously sick is get all the shit out of your body. So go vegan and start juicing, and juice raw cannabis. And that man, by the way, this 50-year-old man had a bad liver because he drank a lot. So he quit drinking, he juiced. His stage 4 cancer reversed to stage 1 within 6 months. And he was so happy that he went out and drank a lot again and died shortly thereafter. So I'm sorry, I don't have a happy story. I just can tell you that I have evidence that it.
Yeah, it's Are we even allowed to talk about that? That's the worst part. I think the reason why we're not allowed to talk about it, I personally think, is because large pharma is incredibly threatened.
It's big pharma, and they're bullies, and look, watch what Monsanto did. They sprayed their shit on other people's farms.
Yeah.
And then they went and tested their farms and said, ooh, you're illegally using our stuff, so we have to take your farm.
Yeah.
And so they are the worst, most insidious, most evil corporation to ever put their hands in American soil.
Well, here's the thing. An American soil, okay, that's very specific. The thing is, large, nameless, faceless, multinational mega corporations, they do not have a soul.
They do not, and they say they're people, so they gave them people status.
Yeah, they're not, so then you're a human being who has no soul and is not alive.
Right,
Who is only driven by...
But has all the political power.
So it's like, create a Terminator, right? Whose sole job is to make money. At all cost, I will make the money. I'm trying to do my Arnold Schwarzenegger voice. I'm not doing a very good job. But it's the Terminators out there just trying, I will make money. I will make money. That's all I care about. Killing people, I don't care. Just make me money. And we have so much of that going on out there, man. Like, holy shit. And it gets worse because they are not people. They are a form of capitalism that is completely, purely money-driven. And if it is the case that polluting the planet or releasing ozone, toxic ozone into the environment will increase their profits, a soulless corporation is supposed to do that if it's not illegal. Right. Or if the cost of breaking the law is less than the benefit.
It's Nestle stealing all our water. It's Nestle stealing all our water and selling it back to everybody in plastic bottles.
With microplastics.
Stupid shit that we have this thing that we say that wherever 5 men are gathered, there should be a woman supervising. Yeah. Because often it is boardrooms are made up of men who are making very bad decisions. And sorry, Josh, I don't mean this personally because you're not one of those men. You're too much connected to your feminist side to be one of these men. But so many men are stuck in a conquer mentality when we should have moved on to a nesting and nurturing and preservation mentality. 200,000 years of this planet being governed by conquer energies and build and conquer and build and conquer. And now we're like, no. We've like we're past probably 100 years or two. Because, yes, when did plastics come? We're past 200 years now of stopping with that and moving on to the feminine energies of restoring everything we broke and rebuilding everything and putting the dams back for the raccoons and get the water streams in place. Anything we've done damage to, we should be looking at restoring.
Of course. Now, the key thing here, though, is in terms of messaging. I want to bring us back to the audience. It's so important because we're here for them.
Yes, of course.
I want to bring it back to them with your personal story. So right now, someone watching this is going through some incredible hardship. This is life. We're humans. We go through hardship. Someone is going through something at least equally as bad as to what you've been through. At least equally as bad, if not worse. And my question to you is, if you could turn to them and say and give them a piece of advice based on what you've been through, I want you to share it with them.
I tell people who have and like you said, Josh, you are not going to grow old in this universe without being betrayed, shit on, stolen from. It's the human experience.
They're going to throw rocks at you, man.
It's going to happen. People are going to try to take you down just for the sport of it. They're just not going to like you for the sport of it. So, and then you're going to have people that are close to you or friends who decide that they can run your company better than you can, so they'll try to do a hostile takeover. I've had that. So everything that can possibly happen will happen. So I tell people this. You have to just look at that period of your life as walking through an ugly, dark, cold, wet tunnel. And dude, you have to come to terms with the fact that you're alone. This is your walk. You're in the tunnel alone. It's cold in the tunnel. No one's going to care about your problems like you. There's snakes in the tunnels. There's rocks to trip over in the tunnels. There's shit you got to walk through. But what you do is you find it within yourself to get up and keep walking every day. You find that. And by the time you get through the tunnel, you know more about yourself and you're more in touch with who you are and you're a stronger, more solid. You're no longer so easy to knock down. And every time you have to do a dark tunnel walk, you come out of it a stronger, better person.
True. You do. For someone who's really thinking about giving up, because it happens. I don't mean by killing themselves, because fuck you, bro. Life is you have no idea what comes next.
Right.
You have no idea what the fuck comes next. So that's no way out. You don't know what's on the other side of that fucking wall. But someone who's like at that stage you were at with business, where it seems like they've all fallen on.
Yeah.
It's dark.
It's over. I tried and I failed.
Right.
I tried and I failed, and you get to that point where you're like, am I crazy? Because I'm still trying to do something. My family and everybody's saying to me, my friends, it didn't work. It didn't work. When are you going to give it up? My thing is that if you know you're wrong, if you know you're right, and you know you've done things the best you can do them, and you don't accept that, you don't accept their diagnosis, that you know better. I'm in this wet tunnel. I'll do the wet tunnel. I'll kick some rocks. I'll kill some snakes. It's my wet tunnel, but don't tell me I'm not going to make it, because every time somebody would do that, it just made me more determined to get through the damn tunnel. So I would say anybody who's at their end and they feel like giving up, there's something else. I always say it's easier to get $100 from a poor man than $10 from a rich man. And so it was the poor people that held me up. It was the people with nothing that I turned to sometimes just for words of encouragement and advice. So don't underestimate the circle of people around you who might also look like they don't have shit, because they're often sitting on gems of inspiration and golden words that are all you need to keep walking.
I agree. And I also want to add that the first time you're in the tunnel is the worst.
Yes.
Second time is the second worst.
Yes.
Third is the third worst.
By the fourth time, you're like,
another
tunnel
again.
walk.
I'm back in the
Another
fucking tunnel again. Like,
good
come on.
thing I have my slicker this time.
But if you don't know, if you don't understand, like, there is no world that you and I live in. There's no world where if you're going to build a successful and entrepreneurial enterprise, that you're not going to end up in that dark tunnel.
Yep.
You are going to end up there. There's no chance, man.
Right.
It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. I just went straight up to the top, bro. That's the way it went. Fuck that. I've talked to so many people. I've never heard that story. Not truthfully. Maybe it exists somewhere.
Also, you don't make a good sea captain by having somebody practice in calm water.
Yeah, true. You
know, you get to be a good sea captain because you've been knocked around. You've done the stormiest of seas, and when you come, so there's I mean, it's shitty that the human plane puts us through so much suffering. I am so against suffering. I couldn't be Sister Kate if I thought so. And this is where me and the natives part ways, because the natives believe in suffering. They believe in suffering puts you closer to your creator, that suffering is a humbling thing. So they will organize suffering. They will organize a walk 200 miles with the 90-year-olds leading, and no one else in the walk can go faster than the 90-year-old leading. And I'm like, oh my God, this would be such torture to me. And I have to say to them respectfully, I work in a business where we're all about countering suffering, so don't ask us to do anything that's going to promote suffering, because it's kind of, and they respect that. But that is kind of where we differ, because I feel like it's shitty that the human experience is so filled with suffering. But on the other end, the other side of that coin is, if we don't suffer, we don't grow. And that's a sad, sad state of the reality here. Without suffering, we don't grow.
Okay, speaking of growing, what is your job within the Sisterhood?
Oh, that's such a common question. We have a real hard time answering it because we...
Well, you're the CEO.
I know, but we have a lot of... we really want everybody to sort of design their own job and find where they're valuable. I'm sure you do that in your organization. You bring in people and you're not sure what their skill is and where he should be. So I can tell you right now, no one will let me on Instagram. I'm not allowed. And I'm not allowed to take customer service calls. Oh, my God, I'm so bad at it. So, and I've done this before, Josh. I had a Russian man call me, and I took the customer service call, and he's in L.A., and he thought that because I have recommended your salve to all the women in this retirement home. Everybody is using your salve. You owe me money, lady. I felt like I was being shook down by the mafia. So I told him to go F himself, and that, we're not that kind of charity, and I handled it really rude. And then I hung up and I felt really bad about it. So then I just called him back and said, I'm sorry, this is Sister Darcy, and I'm so sorry I let Sister Kate take that call. And she's really bad at this, and we try to keep her away from the phone. So, and then she made another sale, a big sale, and he quit trying to mosh him. So anyway, there's certain things I'm not allowed to do. But as CEO, I think your job, any CEO, is to lead your team to make a profit. That's why these last years have been very difficult for me, because to me, if you're not making a profit, you shouldn't even be in business unless you're doing a charity. But otherwise, your job is to make the team work together to make profits, so that at the end of the year you can give bonuses and you can decide what you're going to do with that profit that you made, right? So number one. Number two, I have to use my influence with the outside world responsibly, like a grown-up, and not carelessly, and for the best of the business and the best of the sisterhood. And number three, I have to create a safe and fun workspace. If you can't do that, you have no business being in business. And the fourth, I have to create a legacy. So every day I remind myself, so I don't get too caught in the mire and the mix, that these are your 4 jobs as a CEO. And if you're not working on one of those 4 things, then you're working in your business and not on your business. The other sisters, I'll let Sister Hilda answer that for herself. And maybe you could answer for like Sister Camilla and Sister Helen, and how it's like with the Orthodox sisters.
Okay. I mean, I'm pretty new. I'm still figuring out like the ways that I'm interacting with the sisters, and especially it's like changing so much right now. So there's like so many possibilities. I mean, I've been like,
What first attracted you to the sisterhood?
I mean, it's like a eco-feminist collective, you know? It's like an alternative to just like getting a shitty corporate job.
You didn't want to join the herd.
Yeah, pretty much. I just wanted something that aligned with my values, and was doing something actually interesting. But I mean, I've been like getting footage to like make some art out of my time there, and you know, I like make medicine, but I'm still figuring out.
But you're also tutoring math too, right?
No.
Oh, you're not?
No.
What are you doing with your degree?
I I just graduated. I'm not using it yet.
Okay.
So I'm still feeling out.
This is what I mean about living alone together. We really do respect each other's privacy. We learn
Yeah.
more about each other when we're out on the road, even though we're sharing the same roof. Because I don't know. I didn't know if you were doing math tutoring yet or not.
No.
There was a moment. Everyone has this moment. You met the sisters, you were working with the sisters, and there was a moment where it clicked, and you thought, "This is something. I think I could do this. This is something I think I want to do." You remember that moment?
I mean, I like when I first saw them like on the internet, I had a very strong intuitive pull, and I met with them, and it was just like so cool because I mean, yes, there's like spiritual things and they're like holy, but they also scheme, you know what I mean? They're also like clever, like, and you know, they also know how the game works, you know,
Yeah.
and I just love that energy, you know, having both, because you need both to do anything interesting.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I graduated, I came to live with them, and it's been really interesting. It's been like really opening my mind in a lot of interesting ways. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna apply to grad school and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, Sister Camilla she does so much. Like Sister Camilla, I see her as like the spine of everything. I mean, she does so much stuff with social media. She connects with so many people, and then she's always making medicine. She's dealing with the orders. She does more than that.
The animals, the farm,
Oh, the animals too.
and the plants.
Growing the plants, like tending to all the animals, and also just like regular stuff, just like living with people and the responsibilities that come with that. And
Sister Hella was with us if she's still with us, but here's what happens. She got she wants to work with dead bodies. There's no way the Sisters of Valley will ever have dead bodies for Sister Hella to work with. She got her undergrad degree in biological anthropology, and she wants to be working in a morgue. Guess who runs the morgue? Sheriff's Department. So we sent her in there for an interview because they had an opening at the morgue. She was #1 candidate. She went up against 40 men, and she was their top candidate. But before they hire you for the Sheriff's Department, they have to make a home visit. They made a home visit, discovered that she lived with the weed nuns, and the offer was withdrawn. So we've had to make her now. She's got a different job, which pays much better, as a director of an organization that specializes helping children on the spectrum. And she just went in as an employee, and within 4 or 5 months from university, was made the director of the program. These are hotshot women. They're very smart and very ambitious. She can't wear the veil anymore. We can't have her be a spokesperson anymore. She would, in our town, lose her job for being affiliated with us, or she would never have gotten the job just like last time. So we have certain sisters that are undercover, basically.
Even if they're undercover, I mean, do you have a set of rules or a code that you guys go by?
We have a complete set. We have codes for everything. So as far as our code of living together, we have some simple rules, which is always be cleaning. And this cleaning doesn't have to do with being fastidious about our places or anything like that. It has to do with we respect our creative energy, and you should respect your creative energy. So when you sit down to work in your office, in your kitchen, wherever it is, even if it's in your bedroom, you shouldn't be doing anything until your space respects your soul and your soul's creativity. So it's like a meditation. We will do pretend cleaning if it's already clean, just to do the meditation of we just wiped the counters, because we're getting in the idea that I'm going to do work and my space is going to respect my creativity and it's going to reflect order and so it doesn't distract me. That's rule number 1. Number 2 is no surprises. We're not 5. We don't like surprises. Don't surprise me that the AC unit's down and it's been down for 5 days and no one tell me. Don't surprise me that there's a water leak out back and you've all been walking on squishy grass and no one's told me. No surprise rule covers everything, and it makes everybody walk around the world with their eyes wide open and caring about broken things and things that are out of place. If it's not right, it's wrong. So that's our no surprise rule. You're all in this together. We don't like surprises. We're not 5. And the third rule is no contempt. Like, we don't allow people to roll their eyes or to interrupt people unless we're aiming all our contempt at corrupt politicians. That is the exception. Then we also have this 5% rule where you're allowed to break any rule up to 5% of the time, as long as you're not breaking the same rule and you're not victimizing anybody. So, like, we're vegetarian from new moon to full moon. The sisters who can't go without meat that long will declare the 5% rule when you, like, why is there a Wendy's bag in our trash? And they'll be like, 5% rule, 5% rule. So we give a little bit of room there. And then we have, we basically, remember we were talking about, I left the mountaintop, and I'm like, oh no, I have to develop a code. So I looked at what were the top 12 beliefs of the Beguines in the castles of Europe. So your followers probably don't know this, but before the Inquisitions, these women that served the castles had little farms outside the castles, and they farmed hemp and cannabis, and they had a store inside the castle where they serviced people. So right at the beginning, I related to the Beguines because they had to stand back while they had cannabis in their bag that they could cure the king's son from his epilepsy, but they had to stand back and let the pasty white doctors with the leeches go suck his blood out, and they had to stand back. And as a woman who was working with cancer patients, I had to stand back and pretend that what I was doing was secondary medicine to scientific medicine. So I felt a kinship to the Beguines who had to stand back even though they had the knowledge of the plant and the medicine. So we looked at what did they believe and what did the Native Americans of this land that we're perched on right now in California, what did they believe in the year 800? Before it became illegal, widespread, to put your Mother Earth at the center of your spiritual practices. And where there were 12 beliefs that I did research, 8 overlapped, and we went, bingo, those are ours. And the very first one is that we organize our lives by the cycles of the moon. And that is a meditation of being in touch with the planet and the Earth and the universe and all of its natural systems. And then the second one is that we believe that our human intelligence gives us a unique responsibility to rest of the life forms on the planet. And then our third one is that we believe that there is a mystical, magical other side of the veil, but we don't know what's on that side of the veil. Yeah, so the exact wording of our number 2 is we recognize that our human intelligence gives us a unique responsibility towards our environment, and we seek to live in harmony with nature. This is our vow of ecology. In a minute, Josh, I'll get to our 6 vows. And then we acknowledge a depth of power that's far greater than what our eyes can see, a creator, so we're acknowledging a creator, and a connectedness between the people themselves and the planet. And we believe that the herd of one is the herd of all, and the honor of one is the honor of all. So this is our third main belief, Josh, is your belief that we're all connected. And that if you
we really
shit
are
on somebody over here, you're shitting on all of humanity.
Right.
If you're nice to somebody, you're nice to all of humanity. And then this one, this is our fifth one. There's 8 of them. People can look them up. I'm just going to do one more, which is that we as humans seek to control the forces within ourselves that make life possible, to make it possible for us to live in harmony with other people and ourselves. So this is about controlling our own base natures that were handed to them at birth, where we're creatures who are made to want to satisfy our desires. It's creatures who want to smoke the tobacco even when we shouldn't be smoking the tobacco. This is the thing where you're committing as a sister that you're going to spend the rest of your life controlling those forces within yourself that would take you away from living in harmony with the people on the planet.
No, a lot of it's more okay. So it's harmony with the animals, harmony with the plants, harmony with the people. It's all about living in harmony. I've heard that several times from you, but there are many other rules. But the way you've brought it up in a couple of ways, it's very clear that that's very important.
Even our weekly meetings on the farm, we don't have them weekly anymore. We used to, but we have harmony meetings. We have harmony meetings, and that's where we discuss things because it's very important. People have forgotten. Here's what I think, Josh. I don't know if you know this, but 20,000 a year Catholic churches close, and we should be growing weed or putting raw factories in every one of them. But 20,000 churches a year close, and that's been going on for 20 years. So as people have lost the glue of the Catholic Church that brought them every Sunday or whatever, as they've lost theirs, there's really been nothing to replace it. And people are spiritual beings walking a physical walk. I honestly believe that. We're all spiritual beings walking a physical walk. So if we try to do this walk without spirituality, it's not going to feel right. And if we try to do only spirituality, like the cloistered nuns who pray all day, that's not right either. Like it's on us now. The time's coming. The gig's up with the patriarch. It's not working. It's all crumbling. Time's now for people to reimagine a new way of living. And I had hoped that we would inspire others to go, okay, if those crazy bitches could put on the veil and call themselves nuns and take up the fight for the cannabis plant, then I could do my own thing in my own way.
I agree. Okay, I'm going to repeat that because that was so freaking key, right? If she put on the veil and lived the life that she chooses to live completely on her own, this is a made-up life, as is yours. If she can choose to do this and live this life and create something so amazing, something that is really helping the fabric of our society, helping all of us really, then so can you. And my hope is that you will inspire them to do that. Because the whole thing here is like, man, I wish it wasn't true. I wish it wasn't true, but we're all dead soon.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you got to... It isn't that you have to enjoy your life. Sure, okay, that is one part. It's very important. I truly want everyone to enjoy their life. But you also have to do something fucking badass with it. Something that is actually truly meaningful. And people, you were not born to fucking flip burgers and make fries. That's not why you were put on this planet. Right. That is a time sink. That is a means to an end. That maybe there's some time when you must do that, of course. But that is not why you are here. You're here to do something much greater. The more that we can get humans to step up and live the way that you two are living, the more that we can live independent like this and free, choose our own paths. I believe the more we do that, the better our society is and the better all of humanity is. You don't go work for fucking Bezos. Don't you go work for fucking Bezos.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that, man. Don't do it. I don't care how much money the dude offers you. The answer is no. And you notice one thing that's very key. What this story, and when you mentioned it, I don't know if our listeners will pick up on it. This is a thing that happens all the time. This private equity money comes around, and they offered me so much money. I think they were going to give me like fucking $500 million at one point. And instead, you know what they got? They got this.
Good.
Because like, what am I going to do, bro? What are you going to do with it? Oh my God, all my people are going to be fucked? Like, come on.
Yeah.
No, I'm not selling out my people. That's essentially what I'm doing if I do that. So the answer is always no. It's no. Are you going to take care of everyone here? Like, I remember when my family bought the factory in Spain, the old man made a deal with my wife about no one shall be fired for 2 years without my permission. Is that understood? Yes, of course. And it might be 4. No problem. Whatever you want, Jose. We understand. There'll be no changes. And that factory's never leaving here. No, Jose, no problem. It's this is the way. You know, this is the way of people who truly care about what they do.
And just because we have an ugly form of corrupt capitalism happening on the top, we can't forget that we have a lot of small businesses in America. This is part of my fight. The small businesses are so at a disadvantage when you have the big ugly players swooping everything up and having all the advantages. But the fact is, it is the small businesses that are heart of America. It is the small businesses that employ a majority of Americans. It is the small businesses that keep us alive. And it is the small businesses that we all need to try to be supporting. And like you said, don't go work for Amazon. Don't work for Bezos. I tell you, if you want to go work for somebody, go work for ICE, get the bonus, and do it really bad.
Fuck that shit up.
Be so bad at it that more immigrants come into the country under your reign than got out.
I do want to add something to what you said a moment ago, but it's all right. It's the small businesses are key. I just really hope that people understand that if you are successful like you are, if you start to disrupt like you have been, you will be attacked. It's just the way. They're going to come at you with everything they got.
And I was like I said, I know more about nuns than I should. I've read a lot about Mother Teresa, and I know that she had a crisis in her faith. And those are my role models, because her and this other Catholic nun that I talked to, they're like, those voices, those are not who you serve. You should be paying attention to the voices of the people you serve, and only the voices of the people you serve, and everything else is noise.
Agreed. I really agree. Okay. It's part of expanding humans, right? About teaching them and helping everybody. What about psilocybin? Because I love psilocybin.
Oh, Josh, we do too. So this is another crazy nun story. So we had a Catholic nun who was 17 years a Franciscan nun. And the way she told the story is she was 17 years a Franciscan nun. And then she wandered the desert for 10 years alone and poor and scared until she saw a YouTube video of the Sisters of the Valley. And then she was like, this is my home. And she reached out to me. And so we helped her unwrap her life in North Carolina and move her stuff there. And we co-signed for a car for her. And we brought her in, and we thought she was lovely. And she knew more about being a nun than any of us. And so we were going to learn for her, because she was 17 years a Franciscan nun. She knew all that was wrong and that all that was good. And we got to hear the insides of it. And we thought she was delightful. Plus, she played music, and we like music. She played guitar. But when the pandemic came, she's never made real money in her life. So when we rescued her, she was working at a laundromat as a 58-year-old woman, very disrespected by the young people at a laundromat in a Marriott. So, we're like, oh, this is a horrible way for a spiritual woman to be ending her life, or to be near 60 and doing this. So we bring her. She was lovely. She wasn't used to making good money. The pandemic comes, and the U.S. government offers everybody $900 a week to stay home, and she's one happy camper. I have never seen her smile so much. She's getting $900 to stay home. But while they're paying my people to be out on unemployment, I'm going for the big money with the SBA and the big PPP loans, so I can pull my people off on unemployment. And I succeeded in a very quick while, within 4 weeks. Nobody collected more than 4 unemployment checks. I thought I was doing the responsible good citizen thing. Get the people off of unemployment, use the money that the government's giving you. So I come in and announce that you're all coming off of employment Monday. We've got salaries. It doesn't matter. We've been protected. She was so angry. She said to me, no, this isn't right. We're entitled to get this money through September. And I don't know when it was. I said, it doesn't matter whether you're entitled. They're not going to give us the money both ways. They're not going to give a business owner money to keep their people off of unemployment and then give the people unemployment. So I've chose for the business. You're all coming back to work. She was angry. She stole a car and ran away. So as it turns out, that's how she left the Catholics. Except she stole a priest's car and ran away. This time she stole a woman's car. So I guess that's some equality as the universe moves along. But anyway, sorry, Josh, what was your question?
My question was about psilocybin.
Okay, so when she stole the car and ran away, I turned to the sisters and I said, I don't think the weed's doing it for mood stabilization. I think we need to expand our research to include mushrooms. And they're all like, yes. So we used some of that government money to buy and to build a mycology lab and to train one of our brothers on mycology, and started growing our own mushrooms. So turned out we were good at it. And so there's 2 things. We have a belief, we sell a mushroom coffee that has 17 ingredients, it has 6 mushrooms, it has 3 roots, and we believe that science will one day prove that the entourage effect of all those ingredients will do the same thing for you as psilocybin microdosing. And if your audience doesn't know, when I talk about psilocybin microdosing, I'm talking about the fact that if you don't have to take a trip. I have never taken a trip with psilocybin. I've never done more than microdosed with it. And I can tell you that I felt after 3 to 4 weeks, my brain changing, my brain patterns changing, my creativity changing, my procrastination went away. I'm a bike rider. I like to bike canals, but I'm a very stuck old woman who just likes her places. I get a safe canal route. I go on that safe canal route for 8 years. I've been riding the same canal route. I started microdosing psilocybin, and I'm like nearly shot from going trespassing on strange lands just because my brain's going, why are you going on the same route? You need to take a new route. You need to go this way. You need to go that way. And I found great changes. I then went off of the microdosing to see how long the effects last and learned that I could go about 90 days without, and then maybe my old patterns creep back. And so it's time to refresh on the psilocybin. And I don't know if this is true for anybody, and I'm not a scientist, so there's no disclaimers here. I'm just sharing with you, Josh, my journey and the sisters' journey. So in the end, we went, we really liked the magic mushrooms. We liked psilocybin. We developed a mushroom coffee that we think will do the same thing. It takes longer. But we also went, it's not legal to sell psilocybin, but everybody should be growing their own mushrooms. Everybody should be growing their own all kinds of mushrooms. It's not
spores,
that hard.
Right?
So let's start selling spore kits. So we started selling spore kits, and we were selling blue beanie and golden teachers, the 2 strains of psilocybin, and then reishi and lion's mane because they're sexy and fun to watch grow, and those are 2 of the mushrooms. And we were selling the spore kits. But something happened, and we got threatened. We got seriously threatened by if we stayed in the mushroom business, and I'll just call them the platform people, the platform gatekeepers, the Shopifys, the PayPals, the guys that get to say whether you live or not in an online world. They were like, oh, no, you can't do this. And if you keep doing it, we're taking away all your business. So we had to back off. We never back off of anything for good, Josh, but it was a pivot where we went, okay, we'll give this a rest for a while.
Okay.
And we'll come back a different way.
But you developed your mushroom coffee anyway, which I freaking love.
The mushroom coffee we did, and we're selling it. It's very popular. And like what I'd like to see happen, and it's going to be one of my projects, is trying to get that into the VA and to try to get in as along with our staff.
Now into the VA because it affects the
because it helps rebuild your neural pathways, and a lot of those traumatized pathways.
Set? Do you think people are thinking?
Here's the best analogy I have of how our brain works. From the time you're a child, you think the same thoughts. In my case, I had 3 older brothers that knew everything, and I didn't know anything. So from the time I was a little girl, there were always boys older that knew all the answers, and I was always the dumb girl. So that was something that just was in my brain, and that becomes a permanent groove way. So your brain becomes like a speedway, a road, where if you just think the same shit over and over again, it builds that pathway, and over time, you've got a permanent hardwired pathway through your brain that thinks 4 older brothers know more than you, men know more than you, you're a dumb girl, because that's the train that went around in my brain. And by the way, I have lovely brothers. They didn't mean to do that. I'm just using this as an example. So what psilocybin does is it gets your roadway stoned. It gets your highway stoned. When your highway gets stoned, it becomes a couch potato. Now you're highway stoned. That groove that you've been thinking it's stoned, it's on the couch, it's not working. What does your brain have to do? It has to fire synapses. So now you've got a stoned roadway just sitting on the couch like a couch potato, all high, because you just gave it psilocybin. What does the rest of your brain do? It goes into double working to make up for the stoned guy on the sofa. Now you're thinking new thoughts. Those new thoughts that are going through our brain are doing things like giving you courage, giving you inspiration, giving you new identity, giving you new ways to think about yourself. What I noticed is that the things I hated to do at work, I was suddenly charging them like a bull and getting them done in the first 15 minutes in the morning.
Yeah.
That was new. I was never like that before. I was finding that my workouts were changing dramatically. Like, I never did this weird kind of twerky dance shit when I did Zumba, but okay, whatever. It's a new era. I'll try it. And so you find any human, I think, whether they're 20 or 30 or 40, you think the same thoughts. They're going to get stuck there and they become your thought highway. You need to get that highway stoned so that the rest of your brain will start working.
New neural pathways.
Yes.
Now, I want to keep going forever. We're running low on time to get you in the car. So I do want to, something that's the most important that I want to connect with you guys on before we close up. What do you think the most important messages that we need to share with the listening world are, based on the journey that you've been through in life, everything you felt up to this point, from birth till this very moment, and now suddenly you are going backwards and you're talking to someone who's just at the beginning. They've experienced a lot, but they're way back there. You have all of this to share with them. And now you got to give it to them in a way. You got to look them in the eye and say, hey, kid. And you give them that message. What is the message?
Your public servants work for you. And if your government tries to stop you from doing something that's honorable, ethical, good for the planet, good for the people, then you need to be a lawnmower and run them over. I'm telling you, they're just people, and they are protected and cloaked in an institution. But a little bit of activism goes a long way. Spike Lee says, politics is the war of winning inches and activism is the war of winning miles. And if I'm going to leave you with anything, Josh, I want to leave you with the thought that that last time that I had to pivot and I had to do public comments and I was so broken and I didn't have the energy, and I thought, good God, if you make me do this one more time, I'm going to choose to just retire and put it all down. I had to find the energy. And by God, if it wasn't that time, that last time when I was going to give up, that it didn't bring me the exact people who lowered the drawbridge to make it possible for us to finally break the dispensary barrier, which we've called that for 10 years, the dispensary bakery. If I wouldn't have found the inner courage, if I would have walked away and said, okay, Newsom and you corrupt people from the California Public Department, you won, I'm down, I'm done. But I didn't. I said, I'm tired and I'm aching and I'm sick from this. But I got one last fight. And if they put me down over this fight, okay, but I got one last fight. And I drug myself into the fight, and that activist fight. And there's 10 other times, Josh, that the activism against this corrupt system has brought us solutions and has brought us supporters and has brought us people and it's brought us luck. Yeah. Just old-fashioned luck.
But you broke the dispensary barrier,
yes,
finally.
Yes, we did, finally. And by the end of October, we're going to have our products in at least 30 dispensaries in L.A., and we're going to be down there in the grow operations blessing them. And if we get our way, we're going to be the kosher weed nuns, where it's not kosher weed unless the sisters blessed
That's
it.
Beautiful. I'm so, and even if this doesn't work, there'll be another pivot. Like, I really respect how hard you've worked and how this journey you've been through. Imagine if you hadn't been on that journey. Imagine if you had just... that song, what is it? The old woman behind the counter in a small town. Yes. Remember that song? That is a life that people can choose to live.
Actually, I know Brother Dwight makes this funny analogy that if I wouldn't have become a weed nun, I'd be sitting at a table in Kentucky, because I always talk about getting out of Kentucky. I'd be in a trailer park in Kentucky with my sign up saying advice $5. I'd be toothless and maybe doing meth.
I'm glad you're not.
Me too.
We really, look, as a society, we need more of you. We need this desperately. I think there's a greater pressure.
We need more of you too, Josh.
So thank you. But there's a greater pressure to conform now than there has been since the 1950s, right? It's greater than.
Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right.
And the only thing, and we have to disrupt it. It has to be done because the human beings need to live free, like you and me. They need to, in order to expand human consciousness. We are not going to succeed as the human race. We are not going to succeed if we are pressed down and forced to comply and told to do this and told to do that and get into this little thing and now you're okay. Here's the no. We need to. Our brains are incredible, man. AI, fine. That's fucking cool.
I honestly believe that
smarter than AI will ever be.
Most sickness and most disease comes from people not following their own bliss. I believe there's a complete connection between disease and not being able to follow your own bliss. And so I do believe we're a planet of rebels and artists and musicians, and that if we are the purgatory for the souls of the other planets, it's because we have nonconformists here. And then we have to embrace the fact, and we have to figure out a way to build our own grace and charm into our lives through music, through dance, through literature, through arts. That's important. And also the patriarchy wants us the oligarchy just wants us to be in drudgery. So a way to fight back is with not being in drudgery, where we have to show them, no, dudes. We do music on Friday nights and we do movie viewing and we do this and we do this. And we have to build our own culture and we have to replace what the churches used to do for families.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Spirituality, the connection between us, really, the connection, let's just call it that. Without that, we become listless.
Yes.
And it is because it's something that is real. But it isn't just real with us. I believe it's real with the squirrel.
Yes.
You know? And look at the squirrel. If you spend enough time, you can feel it coming off the squirrel. Feel it coming off our cannabis plants. I can feel it off the tobacco plant. You know, if you spend enough time with it, you'll get it. And suddenly it's like, you know, there was a story I was reading about when astronauts were in space. They were growing. They had this. It was growing tobacco with hornworms on it. There was an experiment that was being done on tobacco hornworms from memory, and the only thing that gave the astronauts when they were in space peace was spending time tending these little. They weren't like big plants. It was in a small thing. Was tending the plants. Only time they ever felt human. Probably, yeah.
I had people dying from cancer that I took a plant to tend because that was the only thing that'd get them out of bed. Like, I'd be like, I'm putting the plant over here because I think you should get a little exercise. Okay, Sister Kate. And then they'd come across, they'd tend that plant. And then as they got sicker or closer to death, the plant would move nearer to them. And then they'd tend it next to their bed. But there's a healing act in that as well. There's definitely a healing act. There's a healing act in connecting to the soil.
No, I think the soul wants to be of service in a meaningful way.
Wait, say that again, because that's really important. The soul wants to be of service in a meaningful way.
In a meaningful way. I think the ego wants to just take everything it can take, but that's not fulfilling. You're not going to be fulfilled by that. But if you live according to the soul, you're going to find the most meaningful way to be of service.
You're saying the same exact thing that I say, but you said it in a much beautiful way. Really. I tell my stories of the cars and all these things that didn't bring me joy. And I wish they did. But they didn't. And it's the same thing. That's the ego. That's the ego. But the soul needs to feel fulfilled. And such is the way for all of us. You know?
And people have forgotten how to live together, which is what we did want to be. We wanted to be an inspiring example of people who learn to live together again. Because we've gotten, like, you have to think about it, 150 years ago, if I got mad at my mom and dad and told them to F off and just left, I would probably die, right? I would just die. So no one could do that. We were trapped together. We were more communal just by our circumstances. Now it's not like that. Now people disconnect, and it happens all the time. And I'm always reading online of parents whose children just ghost them, and things like that are happening where we're so disconnected. And that's all the more reason why people have to develop their own code. That's why we developed our 3-day, 5-day rule. My parents never had a code, but by God, they never had it like explained like that. But by God, if my brothers were fighting and they hadn't resolved it within a couple of days, there'd be all hell to pay. Why is this disruption happening in our holy household? So I just think that we're in a place where Christianity has burnt itself up. The gig's up. No one's like believing that there's magic going on behind the priest's gowns anymore. Like the gig's up, and people are starving for something else, something that's connecting, something that's nourishing it. And it's not. I'm not saying at all that we want to be that to them. I'm saying we want to be an example on how they do their own.
Yeah, and you are an example. I have to wrap up. I'm being yelled at to wrap up, and I will wrap up. What I do want to say though is how awesome it was here. So glad I get to spend time with you. This is incredibly meaningful to me personally, to have the chance to speak with you and to elicit your stories and to hear your stories, because it inspires me. The magic of this plant. None of us would be sitting here right now if it wasn't for that beautiful plant.
Yes.
Oh, and one last thing. I want to gift you the High Times issue from the year and month that you were born.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's very interesting.
The original print.
There's a lot of it talks shit about cops and they're Native American.
Right up there.
Pretty cool.
February 1996.
Yep.
Well, Josh, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, and we'll come back anytime.
Yeah, I hope so. Until then, please stay as beautiful as you have been. You guys are awesome.
You are too, Josh. Thank you.